So just a few more things just to dovetail off what Jerry was saying, give you a little bit more background about us before I jump into what we do, what kind of product that we build, and talk about some of the benefits in the virtual tour. We are located in the big metropolis of Wingdale, New York. For the many of you who probably don't know where Wingdale, New York is, we're about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes north of New York City. We're right on the New York-Connecticut border. We actually started producing custom modular homes out of this factory back in 1986. And we deliver our product to a 9-state area, all the New England states, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And our distribution network is through a network of independent builders. And when we chat and you see what we do in the factory, you'll get a good appreciation, and Vinny and Joe are going to talk a little bit about what they do as builders. So again, we deal through a network of independent builders, and they are responsible for putting the foundations in, putting septic in, doing all the connections. Once we set the house on the foundation, they play an extremely vital role in building your new home. So they'll be able to explain that to you a little bit later. To date, we've built over 7,400 homes at the factory. And as Jerry had mentioned, back in 2000, we became an employee-owned company. So every single person that works at the factory, even the people that are sweeping the floors at the end of the day, all have a stake and ownership in the company, which has been a dramatically beneficial thing, not just for us, but for also for all of our customers, because every single person on that production floor has a vested interest in the factory and making sure that the product is built very high quality. So let me talk a little bit about the kind of product that we build. First and foremost, and probably 80% of our production are all single family homes. They range in size for anywhere from 9,000 square feet. Many years ago, we built a home in Greenwich, Connecticut. It was a 9,000 square foot house. It came in 26 pieces, and it took us 5 days to set it, but it only took 2 weeks to build it in the factory. So there is quite a range that we build to, because keep in mind, we deliver to 9 states, and there's many different markets within the area that we deliver to. So it is quite varied, anything from small ranches all the way up to very large colonials. We do a dramatic amount of teardown and rebuilds. We have a lot of people that come to us in areas such as Westchester County, also the major metropolitan area of Boston, where land may be a little bit sparse. So they may already live in a home, they love their neighborhood, but they want a new home. So we come in and tear down and rebuild the home for them on the existing property. And some people that can't find raw land that want to live in some of these neighborhoods, they'll buy a very old home that we'll come in and tear down and rebuild, sometimes even using the existing foundation. And we will design the home to the foundation. We also do a lot of second floor additions. If you own a ranch style home, you're looking to expand your home, we could either raise the roof, take the roof off and go up another story, or we can actually do side additions as well. That has become very common. We also build townhouses at the factory, and we do some apartment buildings. So let's talk about, what is a modular home? What specifically do we do when we build modular? What kind of product is it? First, before we get to that point, I want to explain to you what a modular home is not. And let me just show you this slide. So this is not a modular home, and obviously it's meant to be a funny slide. It's a little bit sarcastic. The reason I bring this up is a lot of people think that modular is akin to the mobile home business. This obviously being a very sarcastic slide of a mobile home park, but the only similarity between mobile homes and modular is the fact that they get delivered over the road. Everything else is completely different. They're built to a completely different specification. They're built to a completely different code requirement. As modular goes, we build to the same code requirement as a stick-built home. Mobile homes are built to a completely different requirement. It's a HUD requirement. It's for affordable housing, and that's not something that we do at the factory. So let me just jump in. We're going to expand on that a little bit more, and as I go through the slides, you'll have a much better understanding. Benefits, let's talk about some of the benefits of building a Westchester modular home or modular in general. One of the single largest issues facing the building business today is what? And I know that I can't hear you, but if you said labor, you're absolutely right. There is an extreme labor shortage in our industry today. As a matter of fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the median construction worker's age is 42 and a half years old. And this is a quick quote from National Association of Home Builders. Back in 2011, 13% of builders cited labor as an issue. By today's standards, 82% of builders find that labor is a major issue, which is affecting their business. So what does that mean to you as a buyer? First of all, when there's a shortage of labor, a few things happen. Obviously, you can't find the labor, kind of supply and demand comes into effect here. The labor that does exist, they require higher wages. Okay, again, supply and demand. So wages go up. So what's the effect of wages going up when there's a shortage of labor? Builders have to raise their prices, obviously, because it's costing more to build the homes because of the lack of labor. One of the biggest factors with labor shortage is difficulty completing projects on time. If you can't get the labor there on time in order to start your project or during the course of the project or to finish the project, it takes a lot longer for your home to be built. A lot of builders out there today are trying to find subs from a wider geographic area. And again, that all just relates to a higher cost. So all these things are very big negatives. So why do I bring that up, and how does modular solve that problem? When you take a look at this photo that I have up here in the left-hand corner, you've got about 75 people that are standing in front of this one module. This is one of 4 modules that's a 2-story colonial. These 75 people come to the factory every single day. They're employees and owners of Westchester Modular Homes. They're kind of our built-in labor force. So we don't rely on outside subcontractors. Everybody that works in the factory is an employee of Westchester Modular Homes, and they work in a specific area of the factory. They're very well trained. They understand exactly what's got to be done. We build 52 weeks a year at the factory. We just absolutely never slow down. The labor force is very continuous. Not only that, but because we have our own labor force, our cost is controlled. We understand exactly what our labor costs are in the factory, which provides ultimate cost control for you and for our builders. So when we give you a price on a house, it's a price that you can count on. The house price from the factory is very constant. The only time that ever changes is if you change something within the design, you add windows, you add cabinets, whatever. Otherwise, we provide ultimate cost control because we can control our labor costs, and we'll talk about materials as well in a second. Material cost and cost control. So there's this concept out there that modular homes cost less because we use lesser grade materials. That's actually the farthest thing from the truth. We use the same, if not better, materials than conventional builders do. The reason why we can save you some money on the hard cost of the house is because of our volume purchasing power. When you take a look at this load of drywall here, this is just one tractor trailer load of drywall, which we get several in per week, because right now at the factory, we're building at the rate of 3 to 4 homes per week. We don't go to the local lumber yard to buy our materials. We go directly to the drywall mills. Same thing with the lumber. When we purchase lumber, we're going directly to wholesalers that represent the lumber industry, and we're buying direct. So we're buying direct, we're cutting out the middleman. Because I'm buying in volume, I'm able not only just to get good pricing, but I know I'm going to have availability. The other thing that we can do is we absorb small fluctuations in material costs, so I'm not having to adjust my numbers. When your house is being built in the factory, we don't come back to you and say, gee, lumber prices went up this week, so we got to we got to change order your price. The prices stay constant, provided that you're not changing anything in particular inside the house. Let me jump on to another advantage of modular construction. This is a big one, speed. We talked about it a little bit before about labor and not having enough labor out there. We're going to talk in a little while when I take you through the factory tour on how long it actually takes us to build a house in the factory. And understand that what we do is once the house gets ordered from the factory, the builder has a building permit. At the same time they're putting this foundation in the ground, I'm physically building in the house in the factory. One of the things we're going to chat about is it only takes us 6 working days to build a house in the factory, just 6. So while the foundation is going in, we're producing the house in the factory. And I show this photo because here's a completed foundation. It's got the sill plate on it. If you were going to stick build this house, you would have to wait for the lumber to show up and then try to figure out when the framer is going to come to start the framing of the house. What we do on the modular end of things is I coordinate with the builder. So when they tell me the foundation is going to be done within a week of the foundation being completed, I can set this 3,500 square foot house on the foundation in just 1 day. On the inside of this house, and I realize that you can't see it, but the drywall is already installed, the kitchen cabinets are in, the bath fixtures are in, the countertops are in, faucets are in, light fixtures are in for the most part, those that we don't have to ship loose because of transportation, but 80% of that house is complete. So within just 1 day of that foundation being in, or 1 week within that foundation being in, we could deliver and set a house in just 1 day that's about 3,500 square feet. What we've now done is we've taken your project and we've catapulted it 6 months ahead of where you would be with this empty foundation if you were going to stick build the house. So let me just show you a quick graphic of that. So again, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're setting the first module. By noontime, I have the whole first floor set, plus a little bump out breakfast room box, which this customer wanted with a cathedral ceiling cap. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I've got all 4 modules set, 5 modules actually, plus the turret. And what you're looking at here is a panelized garage. We can actually panelize the walls. I also pre-build the roof systems. We set them in place. So by the end of the day, this would be what your house would look like. Speed is absolutely one of the biggest benefits of modular construction. We can guarantee you that we're going to have that house delivered within a certain period of time. And again, we've catapulted your construction process, which is a major factor. Let me just go back to that slide for a second, which is an absolute major factor to you from a cost standpoint, because when you go for a construction loan to build your home, and we'll talk about loans in a minute, but when you go for a construction loan to build your home, you're paying interest only during the construction process, because you're really just paying the bank for the right to use that money while your house is being built. You really don't start paying down the principal part of that note until you physically close on the house and you have a certificate of occupancy. So if I can cut your construction time in half, which is what modular homes can do for you, I then can cut your interest that you're paying on your construction loan during the construction period in half as well. So not only are you getting into your house on time, you're saving money because we've catapulted that time frame for your project and cut it in half. So therefore, we've cut your interest cost in half. When we design your home, and Dave's going to chat about this when he takes us through the design process, we design your home to fit your budget. So not only is the house built to all the same code requirements as conventional construction, when we take it through the design process, we'll design the house so it fits your budget, okay? Also, we can incorporate smart house technology while we're going through the design process with you. If you're interested in smart house technology, just know that there's a lot of different options to choose from when it comes to not just smart house technology, but many other options that we offer from a factory standpoint, which Joe and Vinny are going to talk to you about. Quality control. Understand that when we design a house for you, one of the things that we're required to do as a manufacturer is have a third-party inspection agency. That third-party inspection agency is a group of engineers. The first thing they do is they approve our plans for the local building department. And what they're approving is they're approving the plans that they meet all the national and state building code requirements. And that's what the builder is going to use to get the building permit. That same agency comes back to our factory while we're building your house to inspect the house to make sure that we're building it according to the plans that they've approved, which again, they meet all the national building code and state building code requirements. We also have quality control personnel in the factory, and those quality control personnel have to follow the forms that are used by PFS Corporation, which is our third party, and they go through quite a quality control inspection sheet that our third party checks on every single house as it's going through the production process. Not only that, at the end of the production line, our third-party agency puts a state label inside that house that says that it's been built according to the code requirements for the state that we're delivering to. It's a lot easier for us to control the quality of the product in a 110,000 square foot facility. This is a real good shot of the inside of our factory. This is about almost halfway through the construction process. But I wanted to show everybody this quote. This is by the National Association of Home Builders Research Center. And the quote is, "Site-built housing is not subject to nearly the same degree of design review as manufactured or modular housing, nor do site builders have to adhere to formal programs that demonstrate that the construction process incorporates accepted quality improvement and control procedures." The bottom line is this, that we are more highly governed in the factory when it comes to quality and when it comes to code than anybody ever would be out in the field. And again, it's a lot easier for them to check the quality and to check the code requirements as it's going through the production process. Another big advantage of modular is we build indoors. The lumber that you're seeing here has never had an opportunity to get wet. You can see the quality of the lumber just in some of these photographs. The lumber that we use is kiln-dried lumber. So when we accept it from the truck, we test it for moisture to make sure that there's not a lot of moisture content inside the lumber. And it completely never has an opportunity to get wet through the whole construction process. Not only that, you'll see a little bit later that we wrap the house in plastic so it never has an opportunity to get wet, even in the delivery and the set process. No moisture means no mold. The other thing that is a positive with no moisture is if you've ever walked through your house and you've seen where you've had wavy walls, it looks like the walls are wavy. Part of that is because the lumber over a period of time has shrunk. So if you live in a stick-built house and it was during the winter time or it was raining during the time they were framing the house, it absorbed a lot of moisture. And when you go through the different seasons, it dries that lumber out and the lumber kind of shrinks a little bit. And that's where you're going to start seeing dips in the hallway. That's where you're going to feel floor squeaks and things like that. You don't have those issues with modular because everything is built indoors outside of the weather. Highly engineered to utilize latest technology. This saw here, very critical, because understand that you'll see in my slide presentation of the factory, everything we build is on jigs, and those jigs are square and they're true and they're level. This particular saw cuts about half the lumber that's going to go into your house. It's got 5 blades on it, controlled by a computerized panel. I can literally cut 5 different angles on one piece of lumber with one pass through this saw. We tag it with a production number. We then deliver it to the spot in the factory that requires that lumber for construction. Also, materials are protected from vandalism and theft. I don't know if they do this anymore because most kids are glued to their phones nowadays, but back in the day, you know, materials used to disappear from job sites because kids were building tree forts and things like that. Not quite sure they do that anymore, but you don't have any vandalism because, again, the day we set the house on the foundation, it's 80% complete and you can lock the door at the end of the day. Much of the waste that we have at the factory, you can see in this bin here, is segregated and recycled as well. Structural integrity. Sheetrock, subflooring, and sheathing are glued and mechanically fastened. Modular construction results in approximately 20% more structural members and fasteners than site construction, mainly to withstand transport and installation forces. We build our homes so strong because we have to. If you think about it, we're shipping each individual section over the road independently with our own truck drivers and our own transporters and our own trucks. And then we're setting it on the foundation with our own sit crew, by the way. We have to build the product stronger than a stick-built home, and we do put 20% more lumber in. You can see here doubling up on floor joists, and this gentleman is lag bolting corners together, which is something that you normally would not see in on-site construction because they don't have to build quite as strong as we do because they're not transporting it over the road. Financing. Let's talk about financing for a second. A lot of times questions will come up, well, do I have any problem getting financing for a modular home? The answer is absolutely not. As a matter of fact, the banks really enjoy modular construction because when we deliver the house and they pay us for the house, they've got something that's 80% complete on the foundation, and they also turn the money that much quicker. So if a typical stick-built house takes a year and we only take 6 months, the bank loves it because number one, they're in a very secure position, and number two, they're moving the money through the process a heck of a lot faster. These are two banks that we do quite a lot of business with that offer construction loan financing, Salem 5 Mortgage, and they're primarily, we do a lot of business with them in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Maine. So if you happen to be building up in those areas, you're going to want to speak to Mark Butler. You want to jot his number down real quick, feel free to do that while I've got this slide up. If you're doing business in New Jersey, New York, or Connecticut, building a home in one of those three states, Valley National Bank is a very good resource. Between Joe and Charlene, we do quite a bit of business with them. And both of these banks have very good construction to permanent loan finance programs. And again, if you don't have time to look at it right now or to jot these names down, we will be sending this complete presentation out to everybody who attended today.